Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to Tuesday of another week of remote learning. Okay, we're going to be working on lesson 11, part 2 today. It's going to be mostly focused on the writing part of the lesson, but there's some stuff that I want to get out to you just in terms of general information that when we've been doing Colonial Voices, they've been doing a lot of talking about the Boston Tea Party and the tea tax, and I want to give you guys some more background there from George versus George. But first, we have to finish actually reading Colonial Voices. We just have a couple of pages left, so I'm going to read those to you now. And these pages do deal with the Sons of Liberty, who we're going to be talking about a lot today, and who your writing piece for this part of the unit actually involves pretty heavily. Okay. We have the same content framing question: what is happening in the second half of Colonial Voices? And then our craft question, which is our real focus today, is how do I write an opinion paragraph? And we kind of talked about that in one of the videos last week. You guys wrote me some opinion paragraphs on the Boston Massacre that I've since graded and given back to you. But I'm going to go through a model today, and we're going to talk about everything else we're going to be doing for the rest of the unit in terms of writing. But first of all, the Sons of Liberty, we talked about them previously in George versus George, but just to give you guys a heads up, they were patriotic colonists who helped lead the revolution against Great Britain. So they were the ones that were really pushing to fight the British. They were the ones that were doing things to the British soldiers, if you remember, and they were the ones that really kind of got the colonists roused up and ready to go fight. So we left off with the Silversmith's Apprentice yesterday. So today we start off with a Son of Liberty. And see in that picture, the picture is important here. They're all kind of have their fists in the air, and they're in a big hall, right? And it looks like they're kind of like, yeah, like let's do it. So let's see. My apprentice and I crowded into the back of the Old South Meeting House. Thousands of colonists from Boston town and nearby villages fill every seat, stand on the side, linger in the street, and wait to hear the fate of the tea. And at this point, they've been talking about the tea so much, and I kind of gave it away in my little intro, but they've been talking about the tea because they were annoyed that the ships with the tea were there, and that the colonists were going to have to buy the British tea that was going to be taxed. So the British were, again, not being fair to the colonists, and the colonists were looking for a way to kind of get back at them, and they're trying to decide what they're going to do with the tea, the fate of the tea, in terms of how they're going to go against Britain. Tonight, our weeks of work will tell the tale. Will the government grant permission for the tea ships to sail back to England with the cargo on board? I think not. In Old South, candles were lit against the darkening day. Sam Adams and Joseph Warren rouse the crowd. Josiah Quincy urges caution. The Dartmouth's owner hurricanes in at last. His face sags with sorry news. The governor will not agree. The tea must stay. The tax must be paid. Nay, roared the crowd. Nay. Sam Adams stands up and pounds on his gavel, which is like a little hammer that judges use. This meeting can do no more to save the country. War whoops down. Boston Harbor is a teapot tonight, shouts one. Who knows how tea will mingle with salt water, cries another. To Griffin's Wharf, I shout. To the wharf, roars the crowd. So what they're going to do, the plan is to get onto the ships and throw it into the water and into the ocean. That's why he says, we'll see how the tea goes with the seawater, or the salt water. Now we're back to the errand boy again. We're back to Ethan. If you look, they're throwing the boxes of tea, the crates of tea, off the sides of the ship. And what they're doing is they're wearing headbands that made them look Native American, so that the British within Native Americans were the ones who came in and threw the tea off instead of the colonists. At last, the secret's out. We're standing up to the crown, and I helped make it happen. So this is Ethan giving his perspective, and he helped make it happen for sure because he brought this letter to everyone throughout the day. I ran to the blacksmith shop, streaked my face with soot. wrap my blanket like a mohawk, dash to the Dartmouth and climb aboard. So Dartmouth was the name of the ship that had the T on it. The rain has stopped, lanterns light the deck. Thunk, splat. The warriors and I split wooden boxes while the captain and his crew stand by. Thunk, splat. We axe the lids and spill the tea and we heave the heavy chests. The tea leaves float. Thousands watch from the wharf. They wait in silence. On British warships docked nearby, no sailor sounds a warning. So the British had no idea this was coming. The colonists attacked the tea in the middle of the night and they threw it all into the harbor. And the last page here is the Patriots. Not the ones from New England, like the football team, but the actual Patriots. We are journeymen, apprentices, merchants who work side by side, speaking out for liberty. We boarded the Dartmouth, the Eleanor, the Beaver, and dumped the tea, so there were 3 ships in the harbor. Though many loyalists disagreed, the deed is done. We clamber down from the decks, we shake our shoes. What a cup of tea we just made for the fishes, says a Mohawk. We fall into ranks, up through town we march, out of range of British guns, as we hear the State House. Our spirits soar, our steps are brisk. We keep time to the fifer's tune. No harm to crew or ships, no paying tax on tea. No bowing to the king, we say nay. We held a party. A tea party. What will happen now? So that's the last page of Colonial Voices, okay? And the one page I want to quickly read to you from George versus George is basically just want to go through. I'm not going to read it all right now, but we'll read this tomorrow. It says that a tempest over tea, and so there's King George sipping his tea, and then if you look on the next page, there's another sight of the colonists throwing the tea into Boston Harbor. Okay, so on the night of December 16, 1773, some Sons of Liberty covered their faces and hands with coal dust, disguised themselves as Mohawk Indians, and very calmly filed on board the 3 ships with tea. Hundreds gathered to watch as the men split open 342 chests of British tea with Mohawks and fed 45 tons of tea to the fish. Most British were outraged when they heard the news of the wanton destruction. Americans were clearly a race of convicts. They had gone too far and must be punished. 6 months later, the king and an angry parliament closed Boston Harbor. Nothing could come in and nothing could come out. Okay? So there was kind of both sides of the argument. We were going to talk about George versus George another day. I want to get into the writing piece today so that you guys have a more well-developed idea of the Boston Tea Party, because that's what you guys are going to be writing about as we go forward, okay? So what I did is I wrote a model opinion paragraph about Ethan, the messenger boy, and what his opinion of all of this might be, okay? So and we have to start off with context, because context gives you like that background. So context and OREEO, Oreo for all my opinion writing, okay? In reading Colonial Voices, we have seen the perspectives and opinions of the different characters. When I read The Errand Boy about Ethan, the main character, he thinks the Patriots should fight against King George, okay? So I gave my context, I gave my opinion, and now I'm going to give my reasons and my evidence. Ethan believes the Sons of Liberty are counting on me, and that he doesn't want to listen to the tittle-tattle of the Loyalists. So basically, he's saying that the Sons of Liberty are counting on me because he had to go and deliver that letter to everybody, and that he doesn't want to listen to the tittle-tattle of Loyalists, meaning like, these stupid Loyalists, why don't they just get on board with the Sons of Liberty and join us in this fight? The Loyalists are so loyal to Britain. Why? He doesn't understand them. He thinks whatever they're saying is just nonsense. This evidence, so now that was my reason and evidence. Now here's my elaborate. This is the sentence that everyone always struggles with. This evidence tells me Ethan does not have the same perspective as loyalists and supports the Sons of Liberty. Now I restate my opinion. Ethan is ready to fight for his country, meaning that he is for the Sons of Liberty and he's against Great Britain. Now, where this is going to get tricky now is I'm going to fold this up just a little bit like I do at school. And what we have to do now is we have to take that paragraph and we have to turn it into a little bit different form of writing. Okay? We have to turn an opinion paragraph into a first person letter. Okay? So you guys are going to be writing a letter to the Sons of Liberty based off of the perspective of one of the characters in Colonial Voices. You're going to be able to pick whichever person you want, but except for Ethan, because I'm modeling with Ethan, okay? So basically, I just told you that, and we know that Ethan is a patriot. He is not, he wants to fight the British. He is annoyed by all the things the British are doing, and he doesn't understand the loyalist point of view, right? So I had to turn my first paragraph into this letter from Ethan's opinion. But to do that, when I write from a first person perspective, I start using I, me, mine, we, and our, okay? I talked all about Ethan here, but I used his name, okay? But now, what you're doing is you're stepping into the character's shoes. So basically, you're becoming that person. Like, I'm gonna become Ethan. You're gonna share what their opinion is. So obviously, I'm writing Ethan's opinion. Even if my personal Mr. Cotty opinion is different from Ethan's, I'm going with Ethan. I still have to write from that perspective. And the last thing is to use emotion. This conflict meant a lot to a lot of people. And I mean, it led to a very big, costly war. So obviously there was a lot of mixed feelings in this. So for me, if I had to give off my context first, and then O-R-E-E-O, I'm going to start off with my context, but I'm going to be writing from Ethan's point of view, okay? So, move that over a little bit. And my context is going to be something about the British, and about something that why I'm not happy with the British. So, for the context part of this, I'm going to say, the British tea ships have been in our harbor for too long. King George has continued his unfair ways. Okay? So basically I give you the background of all the British tea ships sitting in the harbor, and that King George is really the one who everybody's mad at. Okay? So that's my context. Now, my opinion is going to be the time has come that we not pay the king's unfair taxes. Okay? So, am I saying I think that King George is a bad guy, or I don't want to pay King George's taxes? No. I'm putting that emotion, I'm putting that feeling of being Ethan in this. The British tea ships have been in our harbor for too long. King George has continued his unfair ways. The time has come that we not pay the king's taxes. And then I would go on to give my evidence and my elaboration for this paragraph. But I'm not going to do that today. You guys are going to do that today. I'm going to type this up for you, and then you guys are going to be responsible for finishing the last 3 sentences of the paragraph. That's going to be part of your classwork. And then for homework, you guys are going to be getting a sheet about the entire second half of Colonial Voices. So that's it for today, guys. Please make sure that you are completing this paragraph from Ethan's perspective as part of your classwork. And then for homework, you guys are getting your worksheet about all of Colonial Voices, okay? I will again put up the pictures from Colonial Voices so you guys have the reference, okay? I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.